Dealing with an avoidant partner can be incredibly challenging, especially if you're someone who looks for emotional closeness and connection with your partner, and it requires a lot of patience and understanding. So here are some tips on how to deal with an avoidant partner. First and foremost, you need to respect their space. You need to allow them to have alone time. Don't take it personal. If they want alone time, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the fact that they recharge by themselves, balance their emotions, and re-regulate. So allow them to have their private space and allow them to have their privacy. Don't see their privacy as a threat to the relationship or as a threat to you. Dismissive avoidants highly value their independence, so you need to be respectful of that, even if that's not how you operate in relationships. There's just no way of pushing it with a person like this. You also need to create a non-judgmental environment for the avoidant person. Because if someone has this attachment style, it comes from trauma. So it comes from early experiences where they felt abandoned, neglected, judged, criticized. And that's why they're so private now. That's why they don't share much. They're very afraid of your judgment and they're very, very sensitive to it. So be careful before you criticize or judge someone who has this type of attachment style. They'll likely react very negatively to any form of even small criticism that seems insignificant to you. For them, it's a wound, and you're just pouring salt into that little wound when you're criticizing them. Again, I know it's not possible for you to be the perfect partner, but I'm just giving you some tips on how to deal with a personality type like this. The best you can do is try to be as non-judgmental as you possibly can, without pushing them, just creating an environment where they feel like if they come to you with some kind of vulnerability or something similar, that you don't judge it, that you just listen, that you're super accepting of it. So they slowly learn that it's a safe space with you to open up and be themselves. It's going to take some time and you're going to need to be really, really patient because they're not going to open up from one day to the next. And if you try to push them to open up, please don't. It's going to have the exact opposite effect and they'll completely shut down and they won't budge an inch. You can try sharing some vulnerabilities yourself, but it can backfire because they're not that comfortable with vulnerability and emotional intimacy in general. You should also try to communicate in a way that is calm, clear, collected. You don't want to have some kind of emotional breakdown in front of an avoidant partner. That will make them very, very scared. They're not comfortable with emotions. They're not comfortable with conflict. They're not comfortable with any of this stuff. They want to avoid it. They want to just retrieve into themselves, leave the room, not speak to you for 5 days until you've calmed down, and then maybe, probably, hopefully never speak about it again. So try, if you feel like you're having a strong emotional reaction to something, try and see if you can go into the other room and regulate yourself before you communicate to the avoidant person. This is actually a tip you should use with just anyone. It's never good to put your emotional dysregulation onto other people. Always try to regulate yourself first before you communicate, because then when you do communicate, it'll be in a much more understandable fashion, calm fashion, rational fashion, and the person will be able to receive it much better. But especially with dismissive avoidance, you do not want to have some kind of emotional outburst in front of them. They're going to be scared of you. It's also a good idea to educate yourself on avoidant attachment. I have plenty of videos here. I'm going to link to one of them up here, and otherwise you can go to my channel. I have a whole playlist of videos that are concerning this particular attachment style. Educate yourself so you understand them better, because otherwise you're going to end up taking a lot of their behavior personal, and you really shouldn't. This is just a response that they have to the world because they've experienced abandonment, neglect, some uncomfortable things in their past, either in their childhood or in previous relationships. And the more you understand how the mechanisms of this attachment style work, the better a partner you'll be able to be. The next one here is a bit tricky because I also don't want you to abandon yourself. But overwhelming an avoidant person with your emotional needs in a relationship is not a good idea. Remember what I started by saying here. Don't abandon yourself either. It's really about keeping a balance here, and it's very difficult, and many people can't find that balance. Because the truth is, you cannot 100% know that the avoidant partner will take those emotional needs into consideration or even understand them or even want to take them into consideration. Many avoidants will feel like it's a blockage towards their freedom and their independence, having to deal with your needs. It's such a burden for them, right? Because they're not that comfortable in that space. So you got to find a balance between dealing with those needs you have yourself and maybe reaching out to friends or family members who can be there for you, and then just take what you can get from the avoidant partner, because they may be able to slowly learn how to meet your emotional needs in a relationship, but you just can't count on it. You see, it's pretty tricky. So that's why relationships with avoidance often don't work out long term, because very few people are able to find that balance. Either they'll completely self-abandon and pretend like they have no needs in front of the avoidant person, or they'll continue begging and begging and begging for their emotional needs to be met, especially for someone who has an anxious attachment style. This is an absolute disaster. And unfortunately, anxious and avoidance, they often meet each other, find each other, opposites attract, end up in relationships together, and it's very dysfunctional unless they both work on themselves and try to become a bit more secure in their attachment style. But you got to take care of yourself as well, okay? So this video, of course, it's about how to deal with the avoidant, but not at all costs. You know, you can't completely abandon yourself, your needs, and your own life in order to just please this person who has a trauma wound, right? Who has this attachment style. Which brings me to my next point. It's really important that you also learn how to set boundaries in terms of how much you're willing to deal with the avoidance quirks. You have to set some boundaries for yourself, or even take some alone time away from the avoidant to nurture your own needs and meet up with friends who can be there for you, who are comfortable with intimacy and emotional closeness. So you also thrive in this relationship, because there are two people in a relationship and you have to thrive, and the avoidant partner has to thrive on their own terms as well. So focus on your own well-being. It's very important. And it's very important that you don't let this get to your self-esteem, because it isn't about you, like I said before. It's no matter who this avoidant partner of yours would be with, they would be having these behaviors. So it has nothing to do with you. You cannot save them. You can probably not change them. You can try, but the more you push, the more they're probably going to pull away, because that's the dynamic there. It has to kind of come to them naturally, or sometimes with some of my avoidant clients, there have been some sort of an ultimatum where the partner has left them unless they get some coaching or counseling, and that's when they seek help with me. And many of them, they're very good, well-meaning people. It's not that they're trying to hurt their partner, they're just not comfortable, and they've got a lot of stuff to work out, which is best to do in a professional setting. So if your avoidant partner is open and willing to it, go to couples coaching, couples counseling, do something where there's a third party there who can help you and the avoidant partner see eye to eye, so you actually have a chance of making it work together. It's not impossible to have a relationship with someone who has this attachment style, but it is challenging and it requires a lot from you. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.